G'day guys, welcome back to Statchat Sports. You're here with me, Josh. I've got Tazza and Steve on the call for our weekly AFL podcast. BT demoted to the twos this week, but fellas, it doesn't matter. We're going to crack straight into it with our regular segment, hits, misses and hold fire. We're looking for one team that had an excellent week and was a big hit, one team that was a complete miss, and a team that we're still not sure about. We just need to wait a little bit more time, see what we're dealing with. Steve, over to you. The hit. Who do you like this week?
It was a bit of a tough choice, to be honest, for me this week, but I settled on Melbourne this week.
Is that just because you picked them to go undefeated? Is that why?
No.
No. You're just trying to pump yourself up, aren't you? Surely.
It might look that way, but no. I mean, you've given them a little bit of stick the last couple of weeks because they've not quite formed to their premiership best last season. But this weekend, they looked $1 million. Just the players in that team that can just win them the game. Like each individual player could just about make a play and win them that game. Easy. Maxi Gawn, best ruckman in the comp, hands down. Petrarca's the best player in the comp for me. And then they all put on a display, and that's what helped him absolutely destroy the Giants. So
I think the big thing for the Demons, and that's been my only reservation, is they're still so reliant on that contested footy, which obviously is their main strength. But if one of those guys goes down, if Gawn, Petrarca or Oliver goes down, that's a huge hit for that team. But at the moment, look, they're flying. They look $1 million, Tazza. It's hard to see anybody getting close to them at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're in second gear, yet they're still cruising over. Every team has a bad day, but it seems even though when Melbourne don't have their good days, they're on.
I think one of the other things that's been really good about this team, and something that's got a little bit of press in the media over the last week or so, is the wingers. Steve, it might be the year that we actually get a wingman genuinely picked in the All-Australian team, because Ed Langdon, he's looking $1 million. His work rate is phenomenal.
yeah, I'm sure that'd be nice to see. I know you always talk about how fraud the All-Australian is in terms of not picking players in certain positions just to get certain names in, but yeah, it'd be nice to see a Langdon in there for the wing spot. He's a gun. So, and since he's moved to Melbourne, he's made the right decision there, obviously. So
yeah, I like it. That's a good hit, a solid hit. I think we've done well there, fellas. The miss. It's over to me. I got to fill in for BT this week, but I can guarantee I would know where he would have been going. And that is with the terrible display on Good Friday from our team, the West Coast Eagles. They were an absolute stinker, fellas. I was at this game. I don't live in Perth. I live 4 hours out of Perth. I drove to Perth to watch this game of football, and I tell you what, some of the worst football you will ever see. It was disgusting, Tazza.
I was at the game too, and all you could do is shake your head at some points. It's just basic skill errors. I mean, you talk about whether the game plan was there or not, but the basic skill errors, there were guys like proper, decent, like nailed best 22 guys just not showing up all night. I mean, one of the most reliable guys in that team for me, Liam Duggan, I saw him doing real basic crap, and that's when I just knew it just really wasn't their night. They were falling apart everywhere. Was it 56-0, I think, before they put on their first point?
It's the longest that a team has gone scoreless since, I think, 1999. Steve, nothing was happening. The ball movement wasn't there. The effort and the work rate for me was just deplorable.
unfortunately, it seems to be becoming a bit of a theme. And I mean, for me, the big thing is I think they need to seriously reconsider who they are classifying as the superstars, because who did they had Shuey, Yo, Kelly as well, all come back, and they're your superstars. And they did absolutely nothing to help that team as well. So, and you're taking out the young kids in the team who put in as good a performance as they can for the last few weeks anyway. You know, we saw it last year as well with them. You know, they played these younger players because of injuries or COVID or whatever, and they played well. And then they brought the superstars back in, and then it all fell apart again. So, I don't know.
They looked underdone too. That was the worst thing about it.
Yeah.
I mean, Yo and Kelly all looked underdone. Shuey, you barely saw him half the night. It just strikes me as ridiculous as you've gone and won a game at Marvel against Collingwood. Play the hot hand. I mean, you're not challenging for a top 8 spot. You might as well get games into the kids. You've come off a win and you're playing underdone veterans. Like,
yeah, a game plan needs a rethink as well. I've been saying this for a couple of years. It's become stagnant. It's become outdated. Banking on Nat Nui to try and win the hit out and win the contested footy. The midfield's not winning contested footy. They were minus 37 in contested possessions on the weekend. That's unacceptable. Inside 50s, down 36. They just couldn't get the ball past the wing. Serious questions need to be asked this team. I'm not happy. I don't think Eagle supporters in general are happy with what's going on and the direction that it looks like the team's going at the moment. Just not good enough.
I did watch the fourth quarter. Stopped at 3/4 time. Went and did something else better with my time.
Yeah. There were plenty of supporters walking out of that game. I don't know if you saw the video, but there was halfway through the second quarter, Eagle supporters packing up, hitting the freeway, hitting the Grey and Farmer freeway home, and it's like, nah, had enough. Just couldn't hack it.
I did see your video. I saw your video
yeah.
at halftime, Tazza, of the Oz Kickers, and saying they put in a better effort than the Eagles. Not a bad shout.
There was some players in there. I reckon they might get a run soon.
We might be picking high in the draft, so we're going to be keeping an eye on them. Tazza, over to you. Hold fire. We're looking for a team that we just need to reserve judgment on a little bit. Let's not overreact too much.
I'm going to look at Geelong this week. It seems I'm always picking the upset of the week with this segment, but I think we need to look at where these two teams sit within their game plan. Geelong are a very uncontested mark, ping it around, whereas you've got Hawthorn who are run and gun chaos ball.
Yeah.
They go into that Richmond mold. Hawthorn had way too much for them today in terms of young, energetic guys running through that midfield versus your old 28 to 30 bracket guys that just want to pinpoint passes. And when it doesn't work, the Hawthorn chaos ball was just winning out.
They're struggling to win the ball in the middle there with that older brigade. You know, they lost the contested possession count by 26, and that's even with Hawthorn's number one ruckman, Ned Reeves, going down in the first quarter. So how do you reason with that?
That team has been so set up in the way they play in that uncontested marking style for so long. It's almost takes not a rebuild, but a complete restructure of that team. And I don't think Geelong are in a position with their demographic to do that. So they're kind of just having to try and beat teams at their own game. It's very one-dimensional for them.
But we are holding fire on them, Tazza, so we're not really putting a nail in them. I think they're still definitely a finals contender, and the question really is, are they going to finish in the top four? And I think, realistically, they definitely still can.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team full of stars. They've still got, like, real talent throughout that squad. Dangerfield has barely been cited, considering what he's done in previous years. We haven't seen a hell of a lot from him. Yeah, Cameron and Hawkins have been doing really well this season. Not a hell of a lot coming through that team in terms of youth. It's been well documented that they've traded away most of that. I think they're a top 8 team, but not top 4.
So holding fire on the Cats. We're not overreacting just yet. Speaking of overreactions, game day overreactions, that segment where we look back on the weekend and we might have got a little bit silly, a little bit carried away while watching a game here or there. We've got a couple of calls from the Statchat boys, and then we've got a couple of calls from our subscribers on YouTube who we're really appreciating the feedback that we're getting on there and some of the comments as well. So keep those coming through. Tazza, we're turning our attention to your mob, Port Adelaide, 0-5. Mm-hmm. The memes were flying thick and fast in the group chat on the weekend about that. Is Ken Hinkley the worst coach in the competition? And the other shout, Ken Hinkley's getting the sack after they lose to the Eagles next weekend. As a Port Adelaide supporter, give us your thoughts on that. Are we overreacting? What's happening here?
No, absolutely not. I'm hearing a lot of conjecture about other coaches in the comp, but I'm hearing bugger all about Hinkley, and it absolutely shocks me. I'm hearing it about Simpson. I'm hearing it about Leon Cameron, but Hinkley is, look at that squad there. Yeah, there's been a couple of injuries, but he's just doing nothing with it. He's definitely in the conversation as the worst coach in the comp.
I agree, but I don't think he'll get the sack next week because I think Port Adelaide will win next week. Just quietly, I think it's a genuine shout. I mean, as they're the only team that haven't won a game yet, and obviously you're looking at the team that we picked, and I'm sure many people would have picked as a top 4 contender, starting 0-5. Yes, you got to put some responsibility on the players, of course, but at the top of the hierarchy is the coach. So he's got to be getting majority of the eyes looked at him. So yeah, for me at this point in time, he's got to be considered as the worst coach in the comp.
The buck stops with the coach. Given how poor of a start it's been, I think his head's on the chopping block.
It certainly is. And then obviously if Ken's gone, where would look next? Koshy. Koshy's got to be in the firing line.
Yeah. If the Eagles beat Port, it needs a top down, just rebuild, redo it, start again, blow it up.
Bring in the Sunrise cash cow. That's what we're talking about.
Anyone to do better than Koshy at this point? Surely the cash cow's got a few more tricks up his sleeve.
Cody Waitman for the Doggies put in a very impressive first quarter in their very nice win against the Kangaroos on Good Friday. A couple of very early calls. It looked like a big game for him. He only finished with 5 goals, but there was the call that Cody Waitman looks like the next Toby Green. Steve, is that an overreaction? I mean, where do we see this man being in 5 years' time?
Is that cool because of his playing ability or because he's a dick on the field?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we're talking the latter, spot on. I don't know. I think there's better small forwards out there than him that would sort of match Toby Green a little bit better. Yeah, I'd say that's a little bit of an overreaction there.
I don't think there's a forward in the game that polarizes opinion as much as Toby Green does. And Waitman is the next best thing in that regard, 100%. Only Doggy supporters will love him. I think people are warming to Green now, but for a long time it was only GWS supporters like Green. Oh yeah, probably not talent-wise, but in being an absolute pest, 100%. He's right on par.
And still very young as well, so he's got time to regress. We'll keep an eye on Cody Waitman. I did mention that we've had some comments and some overreactions from our subscribers on YouTube. None more so than our good friend Justin Timberlake's brother, who watches from the States and he keeps an eye on the footy and he just wants to talk footy, and we love that. But the one that I wanted to touch on, he's locked in 3/4 of his finals teams already. Maybe a bit of an overreaction, so we'll go through it. But he's of the opinion that the finals certainties is Melbourne, the Cats, Brisbane, the Western Bulldogs, Carlton, and St Kilda. Steve, where do you sit on this? Overreaction?
The only one that really raised a question mark for me a little bit was Carlton. I like the rest of them, I don't mind it. But yeah, Carlton's probably that only one that I have a question mark against. And I think the Swans probably slot in there instead. From what we've seen so far, the teams is listed there, good. Even Carlton, like I said, like the Carlton have looked good, but they're just, I don't know, still a little bit of a question mark for me there.
Fade outs are an issue, I think, aren't they? Tazza, comments from you?
I like it. I think they're a good 6. Yeah, I'd obviously have Sydney there. I mean, there's 2 more spots to fill in that 8. I think Saints are looking a bit better. Max King seems to be firing on all cylinders at this point. The Bulldogs will turn it around. They're going to be there or thereabouts come the pointy end of the season. Carlton's ability to run out games and their fourth quarter fade outs worries me for Carlton. If they can't run out games, they're going to get really found out if they're going to concede 40 points in a half to Port Adelaide.
That's a problem. I'll just chime in for BT, given he's not up in the league team this week. Saints, I think, still a question mark for me. I just want to see them against a real contender. I know the Richmond win was good, but I'm still not 100% sold on the Saints yet. Yeah, I'm not saying they're not going to play finals. I'm just saying I'm not ready to crown them as a certainty just yet. I think that's probably a little bit too soon for me. But don't mind the call from Justin Timberlake's brother. Very much appreciate the work he's doing there on the YouTube comments, and keep it up. Next segment, in BT's absence, I'm going to run with this one. It's BT's Game of the Week. It's hard to go past the Anzac Day clash, the traditional Collingwood Essendon clash on Anzac Day, Monday. Steve, it's going to be a belter, and it's going to tell us a lot about probably more so Collingwood.
I wouldn't even know where to start in terms of picking tips for that one, to be honest, because they've both been below par. It's going to be a big game. It always is. It's always quite fiery between the two. So some sort of status about whereabouts they sit.
Essendon's really got problems after that loss to Fremantle on the weekend. the 10 straight goals was the concern for me. They just couldn't stop the tide of momentum, Tazza. They're going to have to prove something to us on Anzac Day to suggest that they're any chance of recovering their season.
Yeah, well, BT's call of game of the week with Essendon and Freo probably wasn't a bad call up until halftime. It looked like it could have been a pretty decent affair there, but yeah, that run, it's pretty gruesome if you're a Dons fan. Nothing to swing the momentum, nothing to change the way the game was being played. And I'm pretty sure they're missing Stringer as well, along with Merritt. Some big outs there. They're two guys that can really swing a game for you. But Essendon were meant to come into this season with pretty decent midfield depth, and absolutely not.
Yeah, they've really disappointed so far, and I think they're, particularly on the weekend, giving up a lot of goals to the bigs. You know, Tab the Crab kicking 7 goals and Sean Darcy floating up forward for a couple as well. So that's a concern they've got to fix. But let's turn our attention to Collingwood. 3 in a row they've lost now after what looked like a really promising start for them. Tazza, I think a lot of their problems are stemming in the midfield. Would you think that's fair to say?
I'd say so. De Goey's probably needed more up forward at the moment with Mason Cox isn't doing anything. Brody Myercheck is providing a bit of a lone option up forward in the absence of Jamie Elliott now. And so they're missing that grunt in the midfield. Taylor Adams isn't doing a hell of a lot. I don't think Lipinski's really adjusted to life at Collingwood.
Lipinski's a role player. Yeah.
I really wanted him to be, and I was bullish on him at the start of the season. He's sitting in my fantasy team, absolutely burning a hole in it. But
has got forward status now, by the way, just on a fantasy note.
I'm flicked him forward. Don't you worry, I'm all over that. And he lives another week just because of that. But Crisp has been, he's been in and out in the last few years, but I think he's going to need to be a bit more of a presence. He does show some silk there. But yeah, it's a bit worrying there, Collingwood. I thought they had the pieces to not challenge, but to not be an absolute basket case. I grouped them a few weeks ago with Hawthorn in that they're going to be topsy-turvy up and down as a young squad. But Hawthorn are putting a few more wins on the board, and Collingwood just don't seem to be building any consistency whatsoever.
Yeah, so tough tip in this one, fellas. Steve, where do you think you're going to go for the tip?
If I had to pick one, I'll go the Pies. Just kind of based off of, obviously they've lost 3 in a row, but to lose only 7 against the Lions at the Gabbers, not a bad effort. They might look at Essendon as a bounce back game and come out all guns blazing. So I'll back the Pies.
Yeah, it's Magpies for me as well. Taz, are you going to make it 3 from 3?
3 from 3 for me, yeah. The Pies have shown more upside than Essendon. They only just lost to Geelong a few weeks ago, just lost to Brisbane. Two top 4 contenders, twice for me.
Bold prediction time, fellas. We've had a terrible run with bold predictions. It's not going well. We need a lift, and we need a big lift. Probably the closest last week. I'd have to give myself a little bit of credit here with my Maxi Gawn pick. Picked him for 155 in the AFL Fantasy. Had a big game. Wasn't big enough, but I think probably the closest out of the rest of us.
He was just about the top scorer in the league, I think.
It's a moral victory, but we haven't got one on the nose yet, fellas. Hopefully we can turn it around this week. Steve, you're the man that judges these bold predictions because you are the boldest.
So I've been told. I'll happily hold that title until I feel like it's deemed for somebody else to take it. But I'll run the segment for now. So who wants to go first?
I've probably dimmed down the boldness a little bit. It's still fairly against the odds, and the punchline will probably be what shocks you. But Freo will finish round 6 on top of the ladder. I've got Melbourne losing to Richmond and then Freo beating Carlton over here. Won't be outright. They'll obviously be joint with Melbourne. But I've got Freo sitting on percentage on top of the ladder at round 6.
Wow. Yeah, that'll be the first time they've sat there since, 2015?
15,
have to be.
Yeah. That's big. Not only that, because Carlton are probably the first contender team they've played so far.
I'll back I'll back the Dockers in Perth. I think they can get the job done. And Richmond have gone loss, win, loss, win, loss. It's round 6. Going to continue the trend. They're going to beat Melbourne to continue. Lost win. It's
I like
it's right there. It's in the form line.
I like it. That's bold, mate. That's bold from you.
Thank you.
Two-parter.
Thanks.
Joshy,
Okay.
go on.
I'll give you a two-parter. And you'll probably say that one part's not bold, but I'm hoping you'll say the other part is bold. I don't know. We'll see where we go with it. So the Doggies are heading back to Ballarat. Love playing regional footy. I think it's a great thing for the game. So glad that we're going back to Mars Stadium. They're taking on Adelaide. Last time that the Bulldogs played Adelaide at Mars Stadium, it was the highest ever score that they've recorded at the venue as an AFL game. And it was 121 points. So it's not huge, right? It's not huge, but that's what we're talking here as the benchmark. First off is that the Dogs are going to beat the biggest score ever at that ground. So they're going above 121. It's not super bold. But the kicker is there will be 4 players in this game that will kick 5+ goals.
Oh,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Across
Can you name
both
them or
teams.
not?
Across both teams.
Oh, both teams.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
20 goals between 4 blokes.
Yeah, that's right.
Whew.
jeez.
Obviously, the Texans
seen
been
that
in
happen
good
before?
form, so we're looking for a big game out of the Texan. Norton's got the capability to do it. Our mate, the Pest Waitman. So, you know, there's a few blokes around there that have the potential to go big.
Is it Riccelli that gets? Could Riccelli be there? Do you reckon he kicks another?
He's
A bag -1.
he's what I'm banking on. So that's my 4. I don't want to lock in my 4. I don't know if that's acceptable.
I think that's. I'm not the judge, but just to go with that, I think that's enough.
I think that's big enough, to be honest. Yeah, I think if that somehow pulls off, even just one part, maybe the second part. If you pull off the second part of that, I suppose if you pull off the second part, you're going to get the first part.
Yeah,
more
exactly.
than likely.
Exactly.
So,
That's what I'm figuring.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good from you.
Oh,
from you.
thanks, mate. I'm back. Here we go. No more mild. I've taken the feedback the last couple of weeks, and I'm going big. Right. I do have BT's prediction, by the way. He did pass it on to me, so you want me to let it rip?
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
We're going back to Anzac Day. Pies, big day for the Pies. Big day for Brody Mychek and Jordan De Goey. Jordan De Goey, his best ever career goals in a game is 6 goals. Mychek, his best ever haul is 4. BT reckons they're going to combine for 10 or more goals on Anzac Day.
Okay.
Do you think it's bold enough?
I don't think it's bold enough.
And he's not here to defend
I don't know.
himself.
No, he's not. That's his fault.
So what do we do? Because we haven't done one of these where we've had to knock it back. So what do we just up the stakes for it or what?
Yeah, I suppose that's probably not a bad shout. Without completely changing it, what needs to happen to make that a bold prediction?
Well, I mean, I'm the king of mild predictions, so I would have paid it. But if you're gonna stick it to him because he's in the 2s and he's down in the dumps already, make it a dozen. Make it 12.
Yeah, I think so.
Bag edge.
Yeah.
Okay. I can settle for that.
Yeah, there you go. That's what happens when you're not up with the lead team.
He's going to need to up his game next week.
Yeah, that's right. Steve, where are you going?
Yep.
Bold prediction of yours.
I've got I don't know if it's a 2-parter or not. It could be. It could be the week of the 2-parters, but mine is towards GWS. So next week, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I am, Toby Green returns next week.
Correct.
He comes back round 6.
Yep.
This is the week where GWS start their finals run. He comes back. I'm not saying they're going undefeated or anything like that, but they will end up at in a final spot at the end of the year. But not just top 8; they'll finish top 6 because of Toby Green coming back.
So, Steve, give us something for this week, because the trend with your bold predictions is they're all at the end of the season, right? So there's no accountability from you week to week. Give us something that we can give you some immediate feedback on next week. Right?
But just think about it. If I'm racking them all up towards the end of the year, let's say none of them pay off. Think of the shit that's going to get thrown my way at the end of the year when none of them come off.
Smashed.
I'm going to get slaughtered, and you're all going to be sitting there laughing at me. So
Okay.
I'll make it my duty next week to bring you one that you can judge, that you can judge me on, for next week. And
Can you tell us?
Yeah.
Can you tell us that the Giants are going to beat the Saints this coming Friday night? Would you go that far? Is that Manuka? It's in Canberra.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, they'll win that.
Yeah.
They'll win that. As long as Toby Green just comes straight back in, which I assume he would.
He will. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many goals will Toby kick?
You'll get 4.
Yeah.
That should be your bold prediction.
You'll get 4.
Okay.
You know, you got to give him some time. I mean, he's been out of the game for 6 games.
And Texas kicked what, 9 goals in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's the main guy, isn't he? Like,
Yeah, Toby will be the main guy.
He's missed the first 5 weeks.
Hmm.
Tell us he's going to kick 5.
All right, he'll kick 6.
There you go. That's bold enough. We'll take that. I'll take it.
Thanks, mate.
Toby Green to return. He's going to kick 6. The Giants will win, and the Giants will finish top 6. That is a stacked, bold prediction if I've ever seen one. Took a bit of encouragement when we got you there, mate.
Well, we had to force that one out, didn't we?
Yep, you did.
All right, very good. If you've got any bold predictions as well, let us know in the comments of the video. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we appreciate your support. We love to know that you're enjoying our videos, and we're going to keep them coming out each and every week of the AFL season. Fellas, nice work from you. Tazza, good to see you've dressed up for today. Steve, great to have you back in the league team as always. BT, you're going to need a lift if you're coming back next week. Thanks again for watching. We will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.